people like me. You need people like me so you can point your f***ing fingers and say, that's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy.
To the mother relay, we're covering today's top boxing news.
Okay, we'll start with this. Ahead of her upcoming maiden title defense this weekend against the Dominican Republic's own Diana Vargas, Eddie Hearn on Sky Nicholson's mandatory challenger, we've been told by the WBC that Tiaria Brown is the mandatory, but I've heard for so long that Raven was the mandatory. It was always our plan to fight Chapman next.
I don't really have a preference.
Stylistically, I like the Chapman fight more because Raven Chapman, she sets a very fast pace for a fight. But I'm equally intrigued by the Tiaria Brown fight because with Tiaria, there's more backstory. Tiaria's been calling her out for what feels like a year, maybe a little more than that.
It feels like there's more rancor between Tiara and Sky as opposed to Raven and Sky.
So even though I feel like Raven is a bigger threat to Sky, stylistically, there's enough there with Tiaria that I don't really mind if that happens instead. I don't mind if that happens next.
I don't think Tiara minds either.
That old role reversal that we see all the time in this sport, where the hunter becomes the hunted. Oh, till recently, Sky Nicholson's been hunting Amanda Serrano. Now Sky Nicholson is being hunted by Tiara Brown. And it's not because she has a belt. It's not because she has a title. No, that's just the catalyst that makes the fight possible. She's been calling out Sky since before she won that belt.
But before she won that belt, Sky didn't have no reason to fight Tiara Brown. There was nothing in it for her. Now, because Tiara's her mandatory, if she wants to keep that belt, she's got to fight her. She's got to deal with this.
Can she?
Already talked about this fight in a previous video. Tiara doesn't set a very fast pace for a fight, but she is physically strong.
Doesn't set a particularly fast pace, or at least not as fast as Raven Chapman, not as fast as a pressure fighter would. No, Tiara's more boxer-puncher. Boxes when she needs to, punches when she needs to. But stylistically, that gives Sky the advantage over her. You're going to try to key your way in with the jab at the right time, at the right moment to bring the backhand over, and that moment ain't going to come because Sky stays on her toes, fights on the balls of her feet, uses the ring, moves around, pot shots from the outside. She's got generous physical dimensions for a featherweight.
Long legs that make for long strides. Good ring coverage.
She's long and limber for the weight with long levers to safely pot shot from the outside. And I don't think Tiara sets a feverish enough pace to really get to her. Where it's interesting is that Tiara does punch hard. She is a hard puncher. She's strong. So if she can get through with something, maybe she can do some damage, cause Sky to wilt. I like the fight. If this is next, I'm all right with that.
See if Sky can keep the same energy. Just the other day I saw her saying that the other girls at the weight, the other contenders, should be demanding that they get their title shot from Amanda Serrano. Well, there's a girl demanding that she get her title shot from you.
What are you gonna do about it?
Gonna let her punk you?
Berate you? Intimidate you? Is that what you're gonna do? You're a champion now! Time to put your big girl pants on.
But the pendulum swings both ways, you know.
What do you mean?
Tiara's been very vocal about this fight. A lot of big talk, a lot of talking. Did you do all that talking so that the pretty little princess from Australia could out-hustle you? Because that's what she's going to try to do.
Are you going to let her? Did you do all that talking so that you get on that big stage, you get that opportunity, and she beats you?
Yeah, Sky's got something to lose, but so do you.
Your unbeaten record and a chip on your shoulder. Do all that yapping to get on that stage and lose. That's all I'm saying.
They've both got a job to do. It works both ways.
And as stated, if this is next, in place of the Raven Chapman fight, I'm all right with that. I could go for either one, but this one does have a little bit more backstory. So do it! Ends lightweight news. All reports, all the rumors, all the insiders, and everything seems to indicate that Tank versus Lomachenko is being targeted for November in Las Vegas. The lightweight unification clash between Tank Davis and Vasyl Lomachenko.
How's this break down?
Similar situation to what we saw years ago when Tyson Fury jumped into bed with Top Rank. Thus, the pay-per-view was split between the PBC and Top Rank. We know that Top Rank is likely going to guarantee Vasyl Lomachenko his end of the pot, his purse. Who's going to guarantee Gervonta's?
Amazon, presumably.
But I thought Amazon wasn't giving the PBC no cash. It's just a distribution deal, and they're not actually giving them a budget. Tack on that Gervonta's not with Mayweather Promotions anymore, so the money can't be coming from Floyd, the only guy I can think of who might have enough lying around that he can front him that cash.
No, he's not with Floyd Mayweather anymore. He's gone into business for himself, GTD Promotions, but who's their broadcast partner?
Yeah, they got the same broadcast partner that DHP has.
And Lions Only.
Big fat nobody. After 7 years of putting distance between himself and Vasyl Lomachenko, Gervonta Davis and his handlers are finally ready to take the plunge. No surprise, now that Loma's in his mid to late 30s and he's been contemplating retirement. He said as much right after he knocked out George Kambosos. That's what he said, that he only took the fight because his father urged him to take the fight. He didn't want him to leave the sport off a loss, let alone a controversial one.
So you can see why Gervonta thinks the souffle is ready.
Shameless when you think about it, but that's where American boxing is. That's where we are.
3-star fight.
A couple of years I would have told you this is a 4-star fight. 4-star fight, maybe even a 5-star fight. In previous years, there was a time where you could have argued this was the best fight to be made. But that's not where it is right now. Right now, it's a 3-star fight. It's not a foregone conclusion that Gervonta wins, even though he will go in the favorite.
But it's not a foregone conclusion fight.
It's a solid fight between two champions at the same weight. It's a 3-star fight, but there are some hard feelings because it never should have took this long. That this much quote-unquote strategy is veiled cowardice.
Tantamount.
What does this do at the box office? What does this sell? Well, I think that this will do better than the Frank Martin fight. I think it'll do better than that. Not as much as the Ryan Garcia fight, but more than the Frank Martin fight.
Not over $1 million.
With Gervonta Davis's drawing power, whatever that is, and Vasyl Lomachenko, who actually has fans, unlike Frank Martin, unlike Hector Luis Garcia, unlike Rolly Romero and Isaac Cruz, when Gervonta fought him, because when Gervonta fought him, nobody knew the man.
Now they do, but not when Gervonta fought him. When he fought him, he was a late replacement.
I think the numbers for this fight will be better than the numbers for those fights. I think it'll do a very strong gate.
A strong.
Pay-per-view buys, pay-per-view wise, I'm not completely sure. Maybe 500,000? Maybe a little over?
Because now you're fighting a guy that actually has fans and has customers. Boxing fans are sentimental. There are still a lot of people out there that are at least hoping that Vasyl Lomachenko can pull this off.
He's definitely the best fighter that Gervonta Davis will have fought so far. Better than all those aforementioned fighters.
Better than Rolly, than Isaac, than Hector.
Better than Frank. Better than Mario Barrios.
Better than Ryan.
Better than Ryan. Ryan beat Devin, and Devin beat Loma.
Devin didn't beat Loma.
That's why so many view Devin Haney's fate at the hands of Ryan Garcia as a form of karma. You got away with a victory you didn't deserve, and Ryan, at least momentarily, he got away with a victory that he didn't deserve.
Karma.
Back to Loma. It seems that Top Rank and the PBC are in the process of finalizing this fight.
In light of that, you wonder that Shakur Stevenson didn't pick the wrong time to jump ship, that he should have stayed with Top Rank.
I mean, you left them because what? What, you want to pursue fights like the Gervonta Davis fight?
Loma's getting that fight and he's still with Top Rank. So maybe the problem isn't Top Rank. Maybe the problem is Gervonta doesn't want to fight you, and you're putting it on Top Rank.
While the spectators in this spectator sport are putting it on you that your last two outings were boring. Earlier this week, we heard what Cameron Giles and Mason Betta, two rappers, had to say about Shakur. Now we're hearing what Joe Budden, native New Jerseyan like Shakur, what he had to say about him. And he said, I watched at least 10 rounds of this before it was enough for me. Now I'm going to watch how I talk because Shakur's Big Jersey. My question was going to be, is Shakur Stevenson box office. I watched the fight, some of the best defense ever. I could see why he don't get hit, and I could see that he's clearly a superior boxer to a lot of people. I could see why people don't want to box him. But I think, to be at a certain level, you need to be box office, and that don't begin in the ring. Like, I think he's too mal-mannered, or there's something about him just as a person that is not box office. And coming off of his last fight, that was important. His last fight was a snooze fest.
I don't think Shakur is going to take kindly to that. Even if Joe Budden is from the same place as him, even if he's from Jersey.
If you've been watching Shakur's social media since last Saturday, or you were in the spaces yesterday, while he's laying into people that tried to criticize him, he's not taking criticism from no one.
Even the people that give him grace, like Tim Bradley, like Chris Algieri, they normally lavish compliments on Shakur, but because some of them felt his performance was a bit boring, he didn't like that, so he's laying into them too. He's not taking no prisoners.
But my question is, did he pick the wrong time to leave Top Rank? Because Top Rank is making a fight between Vasyl Lomachenko and Gervonta Davis. So Gervonta's not averse to working with Top Rank if he's going through with this.
You can't say that Top Rank was the problem if Gervonta's making a fight with Top Rank for a top-ranked fighter, even if it is one that he's been avoiding for years.
And what are you about to do? You about to make a long-term commitment to Golden Boy Promotions for a William Zepeda fight? Or are you gonna go to Eddie Hearn, hoping that somehow, some way, he can get you William Zepeda?
What's worth more, fighting William Zepeda or unifying titles with Dennis Berenchik at Top Rank?
I think Shakur's just lucky that Bob Arum left the door open for him to come back and for their business partnership to continue, that he's not laying into Shakur and reciprocating that energy. He's not saying about Shakur what Shakur has been saying about him and the company.
You can go back.
You get out there in the open market, see what you can find, see what they offer you, and compare it to what Top Rank was offering you. Then you take the better deal.
Whatever it is.
Wherever it is. Matchroom, Top Rank, you do what you gotta do. But when I hear that Top Rank and the PBC are in the midst of negotiating this fight, I just can't help but think, did Shakur Stevenson pick the wrong time to jump ship? Because clearly Gervonta's not averse to working with Top Rank if he's making a fight with Loma. Maybe he has been in previous years, but Top Rank ain't the problem.
And it looks a lot like Shakur's putting it on them, that he can't get what he wants.
If what you want is a Gervonta Davis fight and you haven't gotten it, that has more to do with Gervonta Davis than Top Rank.
Place the blame where it belongs.
After years of avoiding Loma, he all of a sudden decides to fight him
Because he's older and more war-torn than you.
So stop giving him grace. Stop praising him for it. Just in keeping with the theme of all things PBC, the World Boxing Council have now approved a further 1-week extension for David Benavidez to choose between his WBC mandatory positions. Benavidez holds the WBC interim titles at both super middleweight and light heavyweight, but must decide if he's going to continue to pursue Canelo Alvarez or target the Artur Beterbiev versus Dimitri Bivol winner. That he hasn't made up his mind yet, understand.
They already gave him a 2-week extension. Those 2 weeks were up.
They're giving him another week now to decide. A third week. The reason he's having so much trouble is if he decides to continue pursuing Canelo Alvarez, he may not fight again this year.
Why not?
He's not going to put his body through it. The rigors of having to boil down to 168 and to fight who? Some Joe Blow in a stay busy fight? He's only hanging on to WBC interim status because he views it as a segue to a Canelo fight. But it's what I told you. The WBC don't got power over Canelo, and they're not going to strip Canelo of a belt to give it to David. They make more money if Canelo's got the belt.
So stay at 175.
That's a separate problem.
What's the problem?
What I told you ahead of the Vajdik fight, don't ever be fooled. Just because he's fighting Alexander Vajdik for a WBC interim title doesn't mean he's all in for the winner of Beterbiev versus Bivol, which is set to go down later on this year. That in spite of it being for undisputed, just like the Canelo fight would be for undisputed, and in spite of there being a hefty payday attached because Turkey's paying for it.
Saudi money.
These cash injections, opportunities I should say, what they're doing is separating the contenders from the pretenders, because it shouldn't take you this long to make up your mind, especially given what you've been saying, that Canelo doesn't want to fight you, that he's afraid of you. Well, if you truly believe that, then why are you wasting time on him?
He's still riding that scooter for.
There's a golden opportunity right in front of you that if you made up your mind right now and committed to facing the winner of Better Beef versus Bivol, Turkey can get you a keep busy fight. He can get you out there one more time before this year is out while you wait for the winner of that fight and make good money doing it. But that's just it.
What?
David didn't like how he felt at light heavyweight, and a lot of people didn't like how he looked. There's a reason that Juan Manuel Marquez, one of Canelo Alvarez's biggest critics, he wants David to go back to 168.
That's literally what he said. Didn't really care for how he looked, and he would prefer that he go back down to 168 because he looks stronger there. Jim Lampley, who ahead of the Vosdick fight said Benavidez could one day campaign as a heavyweight, he changed his mind. He decided that he would go into the Bivol fight as an underdog.
Where before he was talking about how devastating and how powerful David is, so much so that maybe he could one day go to heavyweight, he's got him the underdog.
Against a light heavyweight. A light punching light heavyweight.
I've never liked David's chances against the creme de la creme at 175. Not based on what little he managed to do at 168. He's just largely benefited at 168 from being bigger than everybody. Not necessarily better, just bigger.
So what's taking you so long to make up your mind? If you really think that Canelo Alvarez is afraid of you, and at this time, Canelo's name is attached to either a Chris Eubank fight or an Edgar Berlanga fight.
Right.
But not a Benavidez fight.
That, at minimum, you know he's not fighting you. He's not fighting you next. You want to wait around longer? You want to keep riding that scooter?
Why?
Because he didn't feel as strong and he didn't feel as effective against the 37 or 38-year-old Alexander Vosdick. He didn't feel like a monster. Vosdick took everything he had. He didn't put a dent in it. He knows Canelo is a lot smaller than he is, and he's older. He's been around a very long time. He has a lot of fights, has a lot of wear and tear. He likes his chances against Canelo better, so that's what he's after. The problem is you keep telling everybody he's scared of you and he's not going to fight you, which makes you look like a moron for chasing him.
That should make your decision easy.
What you're saying, you could fight for Undisputed without Canelo, without having to chase him. You could fight for Undisputed against the winner of Better Be versus Bivol, and Turkey will pay you. He'll pay you well. You don't have to worry about the money. But you're still doing this.
That in trying to make Canelo seem scared, you're exposing that you're the one that's scared, that you don't want to commit to campaigning as a light heavyweight. As big as you are.
Like I said, if it's about keeping busy, Turkey can keep him busy. He could probably get him a slot on the undercard of Better Be versus Bivol.
If he wants it.
He's not going to make 168 for just anybody, any Joe Blow, any ham and egg guy. 175 is easier to make, but if you stay there, you're making a commitment to facing the winner of that fight. I don't think David wants it. I never thought he wanted it.
And the fact that the deadline for him to make a decision, it already came around. Then they gave you a 2-week extension.
And you didn't decide.
Then another extension.
Because you didn't decide. It says it all.